An old mentor, a friend of mine, taught me years ago that under every rock of fear is a pot of gold. And we were talking about jurors that are sometimes just kind of mean about the process. I used to always think that these type of jurors were just trying to get out of jury duty. They were trying to get kicked off the jury panel. And to some extent that might have been true. But I think there are people out there that just believe that you're a plaintiff's lawyer, you're asking for money. If the case didn't settle, it didn't settle because you want too much money. They assume that these professionals are reasonable and that nobody's going to refuse to pay what they're responsible to pay. That's not true. We all know that's true. But every now and then you get a juror, and I'll never forget this one particular juror after my friend taught me about this. And the rule is basically when somebody scares you on the jury panel, instead of doing what lawyers always do, and we scurry like a cockroach to get out of the way, and we put in the back of our mind, well, that juror's gone, you just did a couple of horrible things. Number one, you've missed a great opportunity. Number two, you've just demonstrated to everybody else on that jury panel that you're afraid of what that person just said. And the truth is, it rings true like a well-cast bell. Another lawyer mentor, a friend of mine, tells me that all the time, that the truth rings true like a well-cast bell. If you know anything about bells, they don't always ring true. And sometimes they get remelted because they just didn't ring. Something went wrong. But the truth always rings true. And so if you run and hide from something that somebody said, a legitimate opinion. This one juror I had, I was asking about it, anybody here that doesn't agree in principle with the concept of coming to court and asking for money damages for an injury. And this one lady up her left-hand corner raised her hand, and I can see her to this day, and she said, well, and she crossed her arms and she says, well, if you're here asking for money and this case didn't settle already, then I think you're just a greedy lawyer. And I resisted the instinct to scurry off like we always do, and I took my friend's advice and I hunkered down and I looked at her and I said, ma'am, I said, thank you for saying that to me. You know that's not what I wanted to hear, but you said it anyway. And that kind of annoyed her a little bit, but I was polite to her. I never, ever find a need or any usefulness to be mean to a juror. They all have their own opinions and feelings, and they're real. They belong to that person, and so you have to respect it. And I said, I understand that because I'm the only person in this room that's going to be asking for money, that appears on its face to be greedy, and I get that. But ma'am, are you open to the possibility that maybe that somebody that doesn't want to accept responsibility or accept full responsibility for something they did, that might be the greedy person? And she said, no, I don't think so. I think this case would have settled if you weren't being greedy. And she was being kind of mean-spirited toward me. And I said to her again, I said, okay, that also was hard to hear. Can you think of, have there been any incidents in your life, anything you've seen, watched on TV, and I always voir dire about lawyer TV commercials before I get to this point. Anything you've seen on TV, anything that causes you to feel that way, that you're not even open to the possibility that the other side is the greedy side. She's like, nope, you're asking for money, you're greedy. Now what happens at this point is the other jurors in the jury panel are physically distancing themselves and leaning away and turning their body language. You can see it like a wave at a football game in a football stadium. You see the body language of the jurors moving away from this person. And then I told her that, this process requires that you be willing to award money damages if the defendant wronged my client as we've alleged. And are you telling me that's something you cannot do? And then she says, well, I don't know, maybe. And I said, well, you have to do it if that's what you find as a jury. And then I asked her if she thought maybe she should be on some other jury and not one of these civil cases where somebody's asking for money. And she did, and I didn't have to waste a peremptory on her. So remember, when you feel like running away, and you should anticipate the things that are going to scare you about every case. Don't run away under every rock of fear. And I'm going to tell you, it was not easy. It was hard for me to just sit there and talk to this woman. But after I did it that first time, it's easy now. I can treat everybody with respect. You can treat everybody with respect. But don't run away and tell the jury that you're afraid of that issue. Because what I did is when I talked to her and only her and nobody else, I taught that jury that I wasn't afraid of this issue and that the truth was ringing true like a well-cast bell. And the jury rejected her, and then she asked to be excused. I hope this has been helpful. I look forward to talking to you again, and thank you very much. I've sat at the feet and studied with some of the greatest trial lawyers and titans in this country. I've learned from some of the members of the inner circle of advocates. And you can't be where I've been and studied with who I've studied with and shared a courtroom with the people I've shared them with for over 20 years and not know a few things about winning successful jury trials. It's time for me to share what I've learned with you. I'm retired Judge Kenneth Adair, and I want to help you be a better trial lawyer for your clients. Learn more at Trial.Win or subscribe to this channel to get regular updates about my latest trial strategy videos.